Pay attention to the woman in the cream-colored blazer. She's entering the elevator of the Sterling Plaza Apartments in Columbus, Ohio. Her name is Vanessa Chen. She's 24 years old, a recent college graduate with a degree in graphic design. In her leather messenger bag are portfolio samples for tomorrow's interview at a digital marketing firm downtown. She's been preparing for 3 months. Now, pay attention to the man who steps in behind her. He's wearing a maintenance uniform with a Sterling Plaza logo. His name is Demetrius Wallace. He's 38 years old, originally from Lagos, Nigeria, employed by the building's property management company for 7 months. He carries a toolbox and a clipboard. At 7:43 p.m. on October 12, 2023, they are alone in that elevator. Within 2 hours, Vanessa Chen would be reported missing. Within 4 days, investigators would be searching 3 states. Within a week, they would uncover something far darker than a random encounter. This was not a chance meeting. It was a carefully planned abduction. Vanessa Chen had moved into Sterling Plaza 3 months earlier. The high-rise offered what she needed: affordable rent for young professionals, security access, covered parking, and proximity to the design district where she hoped to build her career. Her apartment on the 14th floor was small, but hers. Her parents had helped with the deposit. They were proud. Their daughter was making it on her own. That Tuesday evening, Vanessa had been visiting her college roommate in Clintonville. She returned home just after 7:30 p.m. Security footage shows her entering the lobby at 7:41 p.m. She uses her key fob at the elevator bank. The doors open. She steps inside. Demetrius Wallace appears from a maintenance corridor 6 seconds later. He's holding a clipboard. He enters the elevator just as the doors begin to close. The elevator has a security camera. It captured everything. At 7:43 p.m., Vanessa presses the button for the 14th floor. Wallace stands behind her, slightly to the left. For 11 seconds, nothing unusual occurs. Vanessa checks her phone. Wallace examines his clipboard. At 7:44 p.m., Wallace moves. The footage shows him stepping closer. Vanessa turns, appears to speak. Wallace responds, gestures to his clipboard. Vanessa nods, returns attention to her phone. Then, Wallace's right hand moves to the elevator control panel. He presses the emergency stop button. The elevator lurches to a halt between the 8th and 9th floors. Vanessa turns sharply. Wallace is already moving toward her. The camera angle captures her backing into the corner. She raises her hands defensively. Wallace produces something from his toolbox. Investigators would later identify it as a chemical-soaked cloth. The struggle lasts 18 seconds. Vanessa Chen collapses at 7:45 p.m. Wallace catches her before she hits the floor. He drags her to the corner furthest from the camera. He removes his maintenance jacket and covers her face. Then he does something chilling. He sits down on the elevator floor. He takes out his phone. He waits. For 43 minutes, Demetrius Wallace sits in that stopped elevator with an unconscious woman. He scrolls through his phone. He's calm. He's patient. Security footage shows no panic, no urgency, no second thoughts. He's waiting for something. At 8:28 p.m., Wallace finally moves. He stands, pockets his phone, and reaches for the emergency panel. He doesn't restart the elevator. Instead, he uses a maintenance key to open the manual release. The doors part slightly. He forces them wider. The elevator has stopped perfectly aligned with the 8th floor access corridor, a maintenance area not visible to lobby cameras. This alignment was not random. Wallace had stopped the elevator at precisely the right position. He drags Vanessa Chen through the gap. The 8th floor corridor camera is not functioning. It hasn't been functioning for 2 weeks. The maintenance logs show Demetrius Wallace reported the malfunction himself. He was assigned to repair it. He never did. At 8:31 p.m., Wallace emerges from the service stairwell into the parking garage. He's carrying Vanessa Chen in a large equipment duffel bag marked with Sterling Plaza maintenance logos. 3 vehicles are parked in the employee section. He approaches a white Ford Transit van. The van's plates are registered to the property management company. Wallace signed it out that morning for a supply run to the hardware store. He never went to the hardware store. By 8:35 p.m., The van exits the parking garage. Vanessa Chen is inside. She hasn't been seen on camera since the elevator. At 9:47 p.m., Vanessa's father, David Chen, calls her phone. It goes directly to voicemail. This is unusual. Vanessa always answers her father's calls. David sends a text. "Call me when you can. Want to hear about the interview prep." No response. At 10:15 p.m., he calls again. Voicemail again. David calls his wife, Margaret. Neither can remember a time when Vanessa didn't respond within an hour. Margaret suggests waiting until morning. David can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. At 11:02 p.m., David Chen calls the Columbus Police Department to report his daughter is missing. The dispatcher is polite, but explains that adults must be missing for 24 hours before a report can be filed. David insists something is wrong. The dispatcher takes his information and says an officer will conduct a wellness check. At 11:34 p.m., 2 patrol officers arrive at Sterling Plaza. Building security provides access to Vanessa's 14th floor apartment. They knock. No answer. Security unlocks the door. The apartment is empty. Vanessa's laptop sits open on her desk, portfolio work displayed on the screen. Her keys, wallet, and purse are not there. Her bed is made. Nothing appears disturbed. One officer notices something. Vanessa's phone charger is plugged into the wall, but no phone is connected. On the kitchen counter sits a takeout container from an Indian restaurant, still warm. David Chen arrives at the apartment at 12:08 a.m. He confirms his daughter should be home. She had texted him at 7:20 p.m., saying she was on her way back from her friend's place. She had an important interview the next morning. She would never stay out late the night before. The officers file a missing person report. The case is assigned to Detective Lauren Pacheco, a 12-year veteran of the Missing Persons Unit. By morning, Detective Pacheco is already reviewing Sterling Plaza's security footage. The lobby camera shows Vanessa entering at 7:41 p.m. The elevator camera captures everything that happened inside. The parking garage camera shows the maintenance van leaving at 8:35 p.m. At 8:47 a.m. on October 13th, Detective Pacheco issues a BOLO for the white Ford Transit van and Demetrius Wallace. Patrol units are dispatched to Wallace's registered address in the Hilltop neighborhood. The small rental house is empty. Neighbors report not seeing Wallace in 2 days. Wallace's employment file at Sterling Plaza reveals he started 7 months ago. Background check came back clean. He provided references from previous maintenance jobs in Cleveland and Cincinnati. He was quiet, professional, reliable. His supervisor describes him as competent but solitary. He rarely spoke to other employees. Detective Pacheco requests phone records for Wallace's cell. The warrant is approved by 11:15 a.m. The phone went dark at 8:44 p.m. the previous night, 9 minutes after the van left the garage. Its last ping came from a cell tower near Route 33, heading southeast out of Columbus. The digital forensics team begins analyzing Wallace's work computer. What they find expands the investigation beyond a single missing woman. Wallace's browser history shows months of activity. He had researched chemical sedatives and their effects. He had visited forums discussing security systems and their vulnerabilities. He had saved articles about human trafficking routes between Ohio and West Virginia. More disturbing, his search history included over 30 social media profiles, all young women, all Asian American, all living in Columbus, all residents of buildings where Wallace's employer provided maintenance services. Vanessa Chen's Instagram profile was bookmarked. The forensics team also discovers something that changes the timeline. Wallace had accessed Sterling Plaza's security system remotely 4 times in the past month. Each time, he disabled the 8th floor corridor camera for exactly 2 hours. This wasn't his first test run. On October 13th at 2:34 p.m., Detective Pacheco receives a call from the Cincinnati Police Department. A patrol officer ran the van's plates during a routine traffic stop near the Kentucky border. The officer approached the vehicle. The driver, matching Demetrius Wallace's description, fled on foot into a residential area. The van was recovered. Inside, investigators found the equipment duffel bag. It contained a chemical-soaked cloth, zip ties, duct tape, and a prepaid burner phone. The van's GPS history showed it had traveled to a storage facility in Lancaster, Ohio, approximately 30 miles southeast of Columbus. Vanessa Chen was not in the van. At 4:17 p.m., a tactical team surrounds Unit 247 at the Fairfield Road storage facility. The unit is registered under a false name. The rental was paid in cash. Security footage shows Wallace accessing the unit 3 times in the past week. The team breaches the door at 4:23 p.m. The storage unit is 10 feet by 20 feet. The space has been modified. Soundproofing material covers the walls. A mattress lies on the floor. There are bottled water containers, packaged food, and a bucket in the corner. Heavy-duty locks have been installed on the interior of the roll-up door. On the floor near the mattress, investigators find Vanessa Chen's messenger bag, her phone, and one of her shoes. Vanessa Chen is not there. Detective Pacheco now understands they're not searching for a missing woman who might still be at her abduction location. Wallace had moved her. The storage unit was a holding place, not a final destination. The search becomes a manhunt. Demetrius Wallace had disappeared into the neighborhoods of suburban Cincinnati. Local police establish a perimeter. Helicopters with thermal imaging search wooded areas. Patrol units check abandoned buildings and foreclosed homes. Wallace's phone remains off. His credit cards show no activity. His bank account hasn't been accessed. He appears to have no vehicle and no resources. The FBI joins the investigation on October 14th. Special Agent Marcus Webb specializes in abduction cases. He reviews the evidence and delivers a grim assessment. Based on the storage unit setup and Wallace's browsing history, they're likely dealing with a trafficking operation. Vanessa Chen may have already been transported out of state. Agent Webb orders checks at bus stations, train terminals, and truck stops along I-71 and I-75. Vanessa's photo is distributed to every law enforcement agency in Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. On October 15th, the forensics team makes a breakthrough analyzing Wallace's burner phone. The device had been used to communicate with 3 numbers, all also burner phones, all now disconnected. But one number had been active for several weeks before going dark. Cell tower data shows that phone's regular location, Wheeling, West Virginia. The FBI coordinates with West Virginia authorities. Wheeling sits along the Ohio River, a known corridor for trafficking operations. Agent Webb believes Vanessa Chen was being transported there. At 7:52 a.m. on October 16th, 4 days after Vanessa's abduction, the Wheeling Police Department receives a 911 call from a truck driver at a rest stop on I-70. He reports seeing a man matching Wallace's description entering the woods behind the facility with a woman who appeared unable to walk on her own. State police and FBI agents converge on the location. A K-9 unit is deployed. At 9:14 a.m., the dogs alert handlers to a trail leading into dense forest approximately half a mile from the rest stop. At 9:47 a.m., tactical teams locate a small abandoned hunting cabin. Smoke rises from a makeshift chimney. The cabin has 1 door and 2 windows covered with boards. Demetrius Wallace is inside. So is Vanessa Chen. Negotiators establish communication at 10:03 a.m. Wallace appears at one of the windows. He's agitated, speaking rapidly. He claims he meant no harm. He claims he was helping her. He claims she wanted to come with him. Negotiators ask to speak with Vanessa. Wallace refuses. He says she's sleeping. He says she's fine. He says if police come closer, he'll hurt her. The standoff lasts 2 hours and 43 minutes. At 12:46 p.m., Wallace suddenly opens the cabin door. He steps out with his hands raised. He's crying. He's saying something about his mother. He's saying he never wanted this. He collapses to his knees 20 feet from the cabin entrance. Tactical officers secure him immediately. Medical personnel rush into the cabin. Vanessa Chen is found in the back room. She's alive. She's conscious. She cannot speak. She's dehydrated and hypothermic. She has ligature marks on her wrists and ankles. She has bruising consistent with prolonged restraint. She's transported by helicopter to Ruby Memorial Hospital in Morgantown. Her parents meet her there at 2:34 p.m. David Chen later tells investigators his daughter didn't recognize him at first. She couldn't stop shaking. Demetrius Wallace was charged with kidnapping, abduction, unlawful restraint, and assault. During interrogation, he provided a rambling statement about loneliness, about wanting companionship, about how American women never noticed him. He claimed he had been watching Vanessa for weeks. He claimed she reminded him of someone. He claimed he was going to let her go eventually. The evidence told a different story. Digital forensics revealed Wallace had been planning the abduction for at least 2 months. He had researched Vanessa's schedule, her routines, her social media activity. He had deliberately disabled security cameras and used his access to building systems to create a gap in surveillance. The storage unit had been rented 3 weeks before the abduction. The cabin in West Virginia had been scouted multiple times. His phone's GPS history proved it. The bookmarked social media profiles of 30 other women revealed a pattern. Wallace had been selecting targets methodically. Vanessa Chen was not his first choice. She was his 7th. The first 6 women had moved buildings, changed jobs, or altered their routines before Wallace could act. Investigators also discovered Wallace had been fired from his previous job in Cleveland after female residents complained about him appearing in corridors near their apartments late at night. The property management company had not reported this to authorities. They had simply let him resign. No background check would have caught it. On March 7, 2024, Demetrius Wallace was convicted on all charges. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. He was sentenced to 38 years in prison without possibility of parole. Vanessa Chen did not attend the trial. She provided a victim impact statement through her attorney. The statement described 4 days of captivity, of being told she would never leave, of believing she would die in that cabin. The statement described months of therapy, of nightmares, of being unable to enter elevators. The statement described a life fundamentally altered by 18 seconds in an elevator with a stranger. Vanessa moved back to her parents' home in Beaver Creek after her release from the hospital. She did not return to her apartment at Sterling Plaza. She did not pursue graphic design. For 6 months, she rarely left the house. In June 2024, Vanessa enrolled in community college courses in criminal justice. She began volunteering with a victim advocacy organization. In interviews, she describes her recovery as ongoing, but purposeful. She says she refuses to let those 4 days define the rest of her life. David and Margaret Chen became advocates for stronger background check requirements in property management and building maintenance industries. They worked with state legislators to introduce a bill requiring third-party verification of employment gaps and termination reasons. The bill, known as Vanessa's Law, was signed into effect in August 2024. Sterling Plaza upgraded its entire security system. The 8th floor corridor now has redundant cameras. All maintenance personnel are required to work in pairs. Residents can track service visits through a mobile app. The messenger bag Vanessa carried that night sits on a shelf in her bedroom. She hasn't opened it since investigators returned her belongings. She says someday she might, but not yet. The elevator security footage from that night has been used in training programs for law enforcement agencies across the country. It's a case study in how quickly safety can be shattered, how predators exploit access and authority, and how one woman's survival became the foundation for systemic change. At 7:43 p.m. on October 12, 2023, Vanessa Chen entered an elevator. She thought she was going home. She was walking into a carefully constructed trap. She survived because investigators worked tirelessly, because a truck driver paid attention, and because she refused to give up. That elevator still operates at Sterling Plaza. Vanessa Chen has never been inside it again.